lot of colleges and universities are preparing to open for their spring semesters, and that includes SUNY campuses.
That's right. Chancellor Jim Malatras giving his State of the University address this afternoon, and a very fine one it was. He's joining us live now. Chancellor, good to talk with you again. Thanks for being here. Really did like that presentation today.
Well, thank you, Jeff. I appreciate it.
And SUNY Oneonta is starting back already, others following very soon, but you can't really go too far into the spring semester without talking about COVID. How's SUNY handling COVID to make sure the semester starts and finishes safely and on schedule?
We're cautiously optimistic. We're doing all the tough protocols that we've put into place in the fall semester. We've carried them forward, and we've only increased our testing to everyone gets tested every week now. That's in place, and we've already seen it. I was at SUNY New Paltz yesterday. The first round of tests came back for the initial batch of students, 850 students, only 3 positive, so we could deal with it right away. So we're cautiously optimistic. I think our students are excited to be back. We still have to do these protocols, but we feel like we're coming on the other side of this crisis and hopefully into a brighter future ahead.
Jim, anything other than more testing for this semester that's going to be different than the fall? Anything different with classes, with dorms, with dining halls, anything like that?
A lot of the same restrictions are in place. We're socially distancing. We reduced the density on our campuses. We usually have about 400,000 students on our campuses. We are going to have about 150 to 160,000 students on our campuses, so many fewer students. We've done a couple of different things besides testing, Jeff. We're requiring masks at all times now, whether you can socially distance or not, and things like that, just to take those extra precautions. Our students asked for it, our faculty asked for it. So those are just additional things we can do to keep our campuses safe.
And Jim, I got to ask on behalf of all the athletes out there and their parents, what about sports? What's the plan for spring sports at SUNY schools?
Well, we're really excited about that. Today I asked our SUNY conference that does all the athletics for the State University of New York system to develop a plan to actually kickstart sports again for the spring semester. It may be a little delayed. We may not be able to get everything done, but I'm really excited by the potential of getting some of our athletic back up again. I've been hearing from parents and students. Our athletes have been phenomenal. They have done everything right. I mean, there's been a couple of blips along the way, but everything's been done right by the athletes. We would love to get the students back into the athletic groove again. And so the student SUNY conference will be doing the SUNY athletic conference. We'll be developing a plan that they'll deliver to me in a couple of weeks, and hopefully we'll have sports up and running again soon.
You mentioned, Chancellor, in your address today that it's not just about COVID confronting everyone that's coming back to college campuses, SUNY specifically in your case, also cultural, political division over the last few months especially. So how does SUNY plan to handle this divide and hopefully build some bridges this spring?
History should be our guide. In fact, we were created 73 years ago in much of the same environment. Great economic change. Instead of COVID, it was World War II. We were actually created specifically to end discrimination in higher education, get rid of quota systems. So a lot of the same tension and cultural divide you see today, we're looking back to our history to help guide the way. We want to open up opportunities for more students. That's why we're doing the SUNY for All program and the online training center. I heard about the new mall that you have available. I'm going to talk to the county executive. That could be a perfect State University of New York workforce training center. And we want to go back into communities as opposed to them coming to us. We want to demystify higher education, provide more workforce opportunity, make the cultural divide, heal the cultural divide, bring economic opportunity. This is a seminal moment. This is a challenging moment, but I think this is a moment where higher education, especially SUNY, can shine.
I hope the county executive was just listening in. That's pretty cool. Jim, you also said it's such an important opportunity for social, racial, economic justice. How do you try to achieve that?
You know, a lot of this comes from our students. Our students are natural leaders. We always talk about them as the leaders of the future, but in many cases, they're the leaders of today. Before a lot of the protests in the street over the summer, our students were pushing for social justice and economic justice and racial justice on our college campuses before COVID. I think them coming back, them being invigorated, them going through a very difficult time, brings a good dose of reality to people, but also optimism. And students really are the optimistic future for us, and they can drive the change. That's what I'm most excited about. I'm most excited about working with our students, with our faculty and staff, to help drive the social change in this nation like they've done in the 60s and other times in our history. By the way, the creation of the system in 1948. I think this is now another one of those seminal moments where the students will drive the change in our society, and that's the most exciting thing for me as chancellor.
Jim, I have time for one more question they told me, so I want to ask you about this and what this was like. A lot of looking forward, but also you had an opportunity today in your address to look back at some of the positive. And there were a lot of positive things in the SUNY system. You highlighted Dr. Frank Middleton from SUNY Upstate and his saliva COVID test. I mean, and so many others that you highlighted in this system. That must have been a fun part of your address, too, to look back at all the positives that were in that really difficult fall semester.
Absolutely, Jeff. This is a challenging time. Our applications are down 20%. Enrollment is down, but it's down all across the nation. COVID didn't create the crisis, but it definitely shone a big light on the crisis of the problem of higher education right now. But when you really think about it, when you think about the Dr. Middletons, or if you think about the students that I raised today, that gives you hope for the future. That tells you everything will be all right. With that type of intellectual firepower, intellectual curiosity, and creativity on our campuses, like the students in Dr. Middleton and others, SUNY's going to be leading the way, and that gives you a good moment in history right now to say, we're going to be the driving force of change. So even in these difficult times, I am optimistic that we have a much brighter future ahead.
SUNY Chancellor Dr. James Malatras, I know you've had a busy day. Thanks for spending a few minutes with us tonight, and you know we'll have you back again soon.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much. And tell the county executive I'm looking forward to negotiating the terms of the agreement.
Oh, you better believe we will. Yes, indeed. Thank you, sir.
Thank